Helping Students That Struggle with Executive Functioning by Dr. Erica Warren. So what is executive functioning? Executive functioning is the command and control center of the brain. It is the conductor of cognitive skills. It is the cognitive process that connects learned experience with present actions, and it is the place that encodes, retrieves, and manipulates information. We use executive functioning when we perform activities such as planning, organizing, strategizing, sustaining attention, remembering details, managing time and space, and regulating thoughts and actions. Difficulties with executive functioning can affect learning in the following ways: making, recalling, and recording plans and assignments, staying focused in class, sustaining mental stamina, keeping materials organized, showing up to class or appointments on time, multitasking, turning in assignments, pairing past and new knowledge, reflecting on work, finishing work on time, thinking through problems, waiting to speak until called on, pursuing help, and estimating time to complete a task. Just as everyone has their own unique learning style and ways of processing reality, each student also has their own preferences on how to organize their time and belongings. Parents or coaches have their own approach and may try to guide students into organizing in ways that are not beneficial or helpful for that individual. Therefore, considering and accommodating each student's personal preferences is essential. It is very important to understand the 12 learning styles. There are visual, auditory, tactile, kinesthetic, sequential, simultaneous, verbal, interactive, indirect experience, direct experience, reflective logical, and rhythmic melodic. All of these are clearly defined in the Eclectic Learning Profile, which is available at Amazon.com. And you can also watch a YouTube video on the Eclectic Learning Profile that clearly defines the 12 learning styles. Here is a sample strategy. For many students, it really helps them to break complex tasks into manageable goals. What you need to do is help them define and estimate the time needed for each goal, then define the starting time and deadline time for each goal, and finally, record when the goals are reached. Here's another sample strategy. Sometimes you need to use a sequence checklist that can help kids remember what they have to do. If your kids are very visual, include images of each task. Following a checklist and completing tasks should earn rewards and recognition for your kids. Here's a third sample strategy. Using Stephen Covey's quadrant system, students can prioritize their time and get more work done. When making a to-do list, place the tasks under the appropriate heading. Then number the tasks under each heading to determine the order of completion. The fourth sample strategy involves helping students to prepare for midterms and finals. This table offers a way for students to estimate the time they will need to prepare for each subject and then commit to a weekly schedule. This is great for learners that need to see the big picture. There are a number of strategies that work with all types of learners. First, create a structured schedule with clear goals and expectations. Second, teach your children how to organize, manage time, and plan. Third, prioritize tasks. Fourth, be consistent and plan a routine. And fifth, practice what you preach. Set an example for your children. Organizing space and materials is key. You want to organize each workspace, minimize clutter, consider having separate work areas for family members with a complete set of supplies. Then schedule a weekly time to clean and organize shared spaces. Finally, schedule a time weekly to clear off desks, organize book bags, and file materials. You can use labeled boxes or cubbies, clear boxes, or a file cabinet with color-coded files. Another key strategy is to take control. First of all, just do it. Second of all, set limits. Third, hold on to your power. Fourth, create rules. Fifth, hold your children accountable. Sixth, minimize distractions. And seventh, only reward appropriate behaviors. When managing behaviors, remember, it's all in your presentation. Don't ignore the problem. It's not their fault. Negative labels such as stupid or lazy will only cause damage. There is no such thing as a careless mistake, and use positive reinforcement over negative reinforcement. Here is a wonderful example of how your presentation can impact motivation. One of my students once came to a session with a big scowl on her face. She said, "Script sounds like stripped and cursive sounds like cursed." I replied, "That's no problem because I teach roller coaster letters." Although it was the same concept, Kelly now jumped with excitement and was eager to learn. You can always consider an incentives program. With an incentives program, students can earn points for completing activities, tasks, or exhibiting appropriate behaviors. Points are recorded, which can then be cashed in for rewards. Small rewards can be earned in a day, whereas larger rewards may take weeks or even months. There are a few things to consider. Make sure rewards are attainable in a reasonable amount of time. Monitor your program daily. Understand that this will help your children develop a sound work ethic and that they will value and take better care of their belongings. Also include all individuals involved in designing an incentives program and be prepared. Don't start until you have the needed materials and rewards. It's important for both parents or caretakers to create a wish list so that they can agree on the behaviors that they choose to shape. Next, you want to define goals and rewards. First, you want to identify the problems, then define the goals. After that, define motivating rewards, and finally, assign rewards a point value. When thinking about the behaviors to reward, there are a few things to consider. Define a few quote-unquote jobs that address the problem and will meet the goal. Then limit the jobs to about 5 tasks. After that, as goals are reached, substitute with new jobs. Next, you want to consider how you're going to record the points. One option is to create a job chart. Here you can decide on the number of points that each of the jobs will earn. Then you record the points daily, and then every few weeks review the tasks and reward and revise as needed. Finally, you want to define child and parent responsibilities. Initially decide who will be responsible for recording daily completion of tasks. Then define when and how often parents should distribute rewards. Tweak the system as needed. As goals are attained, decide on additional tasks that will continue to shape desired behaviors in positive ways. So what else can you do to help students with executive functioning difficulties? You could purchase Planning, Time Management, and Organization for Success at Amazon.com, or even the Eclectic Learning Profile, which would help you to understand how to accommodate the 12 ways of learning. A fun game that develops executive functioning skills is Dance Dance Revolution, and a therapy method that I'm particularly fond of is the interactive metronome. There are some online options. Lumosity, FitBrains, and Games for the Brain all offer games that help with executive functioning, and some fun board games that are also great are Locus, Chess, Set, and Mastermind. If you're interested in more information, you can learn more about my private practice, which is in Ossining, New York, at www.learningtolearn.biz. If you're interested in my publications, you can go to www.goodsensorylearning.com.